Hello, welcome. Good morning.
GM.
Welcome back from holiday.
Yeah, it was a good one. We missed two of these spaces, which was very sad, but I got some much needed time in nature, time to mentally reset, hang out with the boys, play some music. It was a big win.
Glad to hear that. Were you like completely screen free?
I wouldn't say completely, but I really only had my phone as like a survival thing. And I probably checked it maybe 5 to 6 minutes a day max to send out like a proof of life to our loved ones. So my screen time is down bigly.
That's good. I can hear the difference in your voice, my friend.
How have you been, man? You are really climbing the Twitter
Oh,
ranks.
you've been following. Ah, man, it's so funny to be very honest. Like, there's some tweets that just go viral, like it's crazy.
It's the ones you least
It's the
expect
ones you
to.
least expect to. I mean, the one I sent you with the croissant, like there was a whole debate on which country I took that picture. So it was so funny.
I mean, I think the bottom line or key takeaway on that one is you nailed um,
Engagement.
making a need for people to reply.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I see blockchain ninja in the audience. If you want to request them pop up, feel free to do that. And yeah, maybe we'll just get things going in a couple of minutes. I mean, I don't know how much you've been following, probably not much, but it's been quite a funny week or two, I'd say. Uh,
I'm so behind on what's happened in the last 5 days
yeah.
because I've been in the woods, but I'd be very curious to hear from you some of the highlights I missed.
Good morning, blockchain ninja.
GM, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. Actually, I'm going to Lisbon next week, so I don't know if that counts as a vacation, but NFT Lisbon,
Yeah, that definitely counts as a vacation.
and we're gonna have the beloved punks brunch and a bunch of events where you get VIP tickets if you're a punk and stuff like that. So super looking forward to that.
I'm so jealous. I'm next weekend I'm going to a rave in a cave, which will be fun, but it is no NFT Lisbon.
Nice, nice. Rave in a cave. That sounds good, to be honest. But like, what is it exactly?
There's this artist me and my friends used to listen to a lot called Chami, Tchami. He's like an electronic artist. And there's a venue in Tennessee, not too far from where I live in Nashville, called the Caverns, and it's a massive cave, and it's a really popular music venue. And this is the first time I've kind of heard of them doing this more rave format in the cave. So we rented a Sprinter van, got 5 or 6 lads flying down from New York to stay at my place, and Friday night we are hitting the road for an hour and a half, going to the cave, gonna rave in the cave, and then we will be coming back. And we got ourselves a driver, so we are all safe and sound, and we've got extra space in the Sprinter, so we're hoping to pick up some fellow ravers from the cave and bring them back to our cave.
You guys like have electricity in that cave? It doesn't sound like.
There's got to be some, I would hope. Otherwise, I don't know how they're going to put on the crazy light show that we're all there to see.
Oh, I see. Well, how about Valko? We do this. So maybe two things on the agenda today. Maybe I'll fill you up on kind of last week's crypto Twitter, crypto stuff, things that you might have missed, and then uh, and
Sorry, you cut up there for a second. What
yeah,
was
yeah.
the second thing on the list?
And the second thing on the list, we'll have an amazing chat with Blockchain Ninja, I'd say, because I'm sure you have a couple of things to say about last week's happenings and about, I don't know what the hell's going on, and about your cool anecdotes that you mentioned the other day on our spaces. What do you say?
I'm all for it. If you got a good name for the retitle of the space, let me know because I'll get it nice and themed and clickbaity for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe what the fuck happened in in crypto or something like that, because it literally honestly, last week was the week in crypto where I really like just looked in the mirror and I was like, I cannot believe this space that I'm even part of this, like, and so basically, you probably remember 2, 3 weeks ago there was this Ben.eth thing. He raised, what was it, 7 million or something,
Oh yeah.
and maybe 10 days ago. 10 days ago, he came out with another tweet saying he's launching another token, which was the loyal token, right? And everyone was like, okay, what the fuck, like, and yet another token. What is this? And he was like, it's basically, if you missed Ben, you get to participate in this, and this one is gonna be in collaboration with Ben Armstrong, right? The guy that bought the Ben token from him. And I was like, man, surely people have learned their lesson. Surely people are not gonna, give anything to the second token launch. And do you know how much they raised, Valko? If you'd have to guess on that second token,
Well, the first one was, what was it, 20 mil?
it was the first one was roughly 7 million. So
Okay.
so the psyop, and it was great marketing. I mean, hats off, all the bullshit, like. And I actually looked on chain and I saw all these Pepe degens kind of rolling some of their profits from Pepe over into fucking PSYOP. But then I was like, okay, loyal. So what do you say got raised for loyal? If you just have to say a number.
I mean, my initial guess would have been it would have had to have been less than the original amount, but the way you're speaking is making my skin crawl. And so I'm
Yeah.
going to
Well,
go with a
so
guess of 26.9 million.
okay, it's a bit less than that. Luckily, I think it was 11 million.
Dude, that's crazy.
Dude, but so here's what the narrative was, right? That Uniswap, if I'm not mistaken, they blocked the PSYOP token from their front end. And I think that's what happened. And so basically, Ben Armstrong and Ben.eth spun this whole narrative up that they're going to basically build a Uniswap competitor for shitcoins, right? Where everyone's allowed, there's no discrimination, blah, blah, blah. And Loyal is going to be kind of the token of this new platform. So this is kind of the blurry thing they announced, right?
What the hell?
Oh man. Yeah. And then so basically you have these two bands teaming up, creating three new, like these three tokens, everyone just sending over their ETH. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay. But if you think that this is too much, then guess what happened 3 days ago?
Please don't tell me he issued another coin.
No. So do you know the guy called Paulie, the guy with the the funks?
Yeah.
He tweeted, here's my ETH address. Send ETH and you get nothing in return.
Oh, I saw that tweet. Yeah. I
Dude.
was like, I didn't even know the context around it. Maybe
Yeah,
it
I mean,
was
there was-
for me. I just thought it was a meme, like a joke.
Yeah, exactly, right? I thought, like, I was hoping it was a meme, it was a joke. Do you know how much he raised on just that tweet?
I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't think you want to know, to be honest. 1.5 million?
Oh my God.
Dude. And today he pasted, haha, it was a rug. It was a scam, and like a face. Like I can find the tweets, but it's just like, and I'm like,
Was it
crying
this
and-
one? The one with the Willy Wonka?
Yes, yeah, that was, yeah. That's the you get nothing, and then the follow-up tweet later on, which was, I think, I don't know, like a day ago or something.
Oh my God.
And like, I spent my last morning literally on chain going through the addresses that sent him more than one ETH, because I was like thinking, okay, like surely there's some tornado cash bullshit, people money laundering, like, and
Yeah, like what's the profile of somebody dropping over a G into the fucking ether, literally?
like, exactly. Because then I went on Etherscan and I saw like 0.000 ETH, like a bunch of people sending $10, $20. And that's like, for the fun of it, why not? But how do you get to 1 million? And honestly, I didn't see anything abnormal. Like there were a bunch of, I think I came to, there were like 300 people that dropped more than an ETH.
But how did he
Uh,
get up to 1,000,000? Surely somebody must have went in big or some of
no,
it was
and
just, like,
not
swap
that big.
trading.
The top address was 10 ETH. There were a couple of addresses that sent 2 times 5 ETH or 3 times 3s or something like that, but all from like legit accounts, not like from just no trail accounts. So
The hell? So these
I,
guys are just hoping for an airdrop of some token that he
well, I don't know what the
creates.
fuck they were hoping for,
Idiots.
but they got nothing because it literally said you will get nothing. And like, what do you expect? And then I think a day leading up to this poly token, there was Borovic. You know Borovic, who is like this influencer slash
Yeah, he does, like, the AI something new every day, and he's kind of a shit poster.
yeah. I mean, he's a engagement farmer. Like that's his thing, right? He posts like I think 30 times a day, just like engagement farm.
Yeah.
Like he was in a space and his phone like crashed because it overheated, and he posted, guys, here's my address if you want to fund my new iPhone, right? Like 1.5K for a new iPhone. He raised nearly 200K just on that tweet, right?
What?
And the guy owns 4 punks, couple of apes, and everyone was like, where? What the hell's happening? And I'm like, and this is where I'm like staring myself in the mirror, and I'm like, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what am I missing? Like, what am I missing? And I'm like, this is like peak, I don't know, FOMO type behavior, but that's not where we are, to my knowledge. So, anyways, long story short, I'm kind of jealous you were not part of this last week. That you had your head recovering from all this stupidity. But yeah, I'm really hoping that we get back to kind of the nice JPEG stuff. Then we had, of course, you had the checks and OPEPN that did nicely. They had a nice dynamic, but you had a lot of this stupidity. So yeah, maybe I'll pause there and take your thoughts. Maybe blockchain ninja, if you have any any thoughts to add to that, because you were not on vacation last week, as far as I know.
Um, I don't know what the hell is going on with people in this space, like sending Pauly money when he literally said you get nothing. Uh, I don't even know. Borovic, okay, so he didn't get almost 200 grand. He got a little over 3 grand. When I checked, there was somebody else that got close to 200 grand. I cannot remember who it was, but yeah, Borovic said he needed a new iPhone. Literally anyone that looked on chain could have seen that not even a week ago, he got paid 40 grand from a project, OGMF, to pump their token, right? Literally just got paid 40 grand. He has over 200 grand sitting in one account, just in like ETH and shit tokens, plus has his punk in there and a bunch of other stuff. That's his vault. And even in his normal one, he has like 76 grand in just tokens sitting there, not including the value of all of his NFTs. So for people to send him money for an iPhone, I I wish I could find each and every one of those people and just shake them until they got dizzy and then just let them go so they fall. Hopefully hit their head, because it couldn't do any harm at this point, honestly. Um, I don't know. Like, and I was talking to somebody about this. I'm like, I've been helping people after they get compromised, teaching people completely free for 4 years now. And like the services that I use to do on-chain analytics, like a lot of them cost money. Like I'm putting out anywhere from $600 to $1,000 a month just to pay for these services. Yeah, this fuck, sorry, this, whatever you want to call him, has like enough for a mansion sitting in his wallets. It gets money sent to him for an iPhone. And I'm like, what? Huh? Yeah, crypto Twitter's going completely insane. I don't know what is going on. These people have lost their ever loving minds.
Yeah. I mean, I think this whole craze with the ERC-20s and shitcoins, that's, currently the new meta. It's really shined the light on the absolute degeneracy and gambling and speculative mindset that really just runs so deep in this space. We sort of all knew that everybody buying into JPEGs, for the most part, had that sort of attitude. But the moment they transferred to like highly like liquid fungible tokens, it basically took the rails off the fucking track and let the train go wild. Like and it's just showing how bad I think it always was. Not to say NFTs are dumb. Like, I think NFTs are the greatest thing ever. I think blockchain's the most freedom enabling technology on the planet. And NFTs are just a way to like bring that technology to unique digital assets as opposed to fungible ones. I love NFTs. That's why I collect them. But I also acknowledge that, 99.99% of the space, I wouldn't say it's money laundering. It's just gambling. And this shitcoin meta that's happening right now could be better proof of that statement than anything else, in my opinion.
Speaking of NFTs, I forgot the most important part. So there was somebody who faked cancer, stole their artwork, uh, and ended up selling out their project because a few big named accounts, one of them being like Andrew Yang, um, was tweeting about it, saying, "Oh, this girl has cancer. We should help her." Blah blah blah. No research. Nobody else did any research either. So yeah, this girl faked cancer. Don't even know if it's a girl. For all we know, it's some Russian dude sitting over in Bosnia or something. But yeah, fake cancer, stole the art, sold out the project, made off with the money.
That's the sob story everybody wants to support and believe. And it's unfortunate because it's a real story for real people that could actually use the money. And we've got these fucking fuckers just capitalizing on, frankly, idiots. But what can we do? The free market is double-edged sword. It creates freedom and it also allows utter and complete stupidity. My hope, though, is that when as people start to get more adjusted and acquainted with how lawless decentralized systems can be, then they will start to learn, you know, just as we've learned, like, don't open emails with random links because phishing scams are always there. Hopefully, people will start to get it, ingrained in their thick ass skulls that, okay, 99.99% of these coins and JPEGs and things online are probably scams or rugs. And, maybe I should use my two brain cells to actually do some research here and make long-term bets. Or, if you're gonna be a degenerate, at least know what you're doing. That's fine. To everybody who sent 1 ETH to fund someone's iPhone when they thought it might have been a moonshot for whatever weird, fucked up reason, or who sent Paulie money even though he straight up said you'd get nothing. Maybe it was a reverse psychology moonshot. Like, if they knew that's what they were doing going into it, like, fine. I'm not lighting money on fire like that personally. Like, the risk return isn't there for me. But, I guess I can understand it. It's not that much worse than somebody buying some stupid new Dogecoin that legitimately does exist and has a hard cap and blah 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 blah. It's only slightly more asymmetric upside, I suppose.
Dude, what gets me the most is like, well, people were sending all this money to wallets, like literally for nothing or for an iPhone for somebody else. I'm literally partnered with the DAV, the largest 501c3 that's dedicated to veteran help in the world. And I'm like, I have to struggle to get people to donate to a 501c3 that literally helps disabled veterans and their families who fought for the freedom for these idiots to even be online in the first place. Like, it's hard for us to get donations, yet Polly gets over $1 million,
Yeah.
and this
Oh man.
Ben.eth idiot gets over 27 point something mil.
Yeah, that's really frustrating. I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose memes just rule the world and that's how it is. And sometimes the most powerful memes happen to be the dumbest ones that somebody with two brain cells can comprehend. Uh, the funny thing is all these people's legacy is now on chain. Like they will forever be part of the club for better or worse that donated, $1,000 into the fucking void for no absolute reason. Like imagine if life were a video game, I don't know what sort of badge or accomplishment you give that person, but it's probably a dunce hat.
I mean, next week, I think we'll be talking about people donating to the burn address. Like, here's the burn address, send your ETH. And that's going to be the hype of, who knows, next week. But let me flip this around maybe on the positive slash more interesting side. Like you speak, Valko, that blockchain is freedom, blockchain is transparency. Firstly, if this were to be done not on a blockchain, on a permissionless blockchain, like Ben.eth or Poly could have never ever raised this much money because they would have been shut down within a couple of hours if they would have had a bank account, right? Just for starters, right? And I'm not saying it's good what they're doing, but if there's stupidity, let it be stupid. Like i- if a person wants to burn their money, it's not for a third party like a bank to decide it. It's for me. It should be, like open and permissionless. So that's maybe my first point. And second of all, about transparency. All these donations to stupid stuff. I don't think it's the first time that it happens in the world. However, maybe it's the first time that it's so obvious to see because you literally go on Etherscan, paste the address, and you can see how much was donated. But all these scams, with the Nigerian prince and all that stuff, like we know it's happening, but we don't know how much is actually donated to the Nigerian prince or all these, I don't know, kidnapping scams and stuff like that. It's very much under the hood. Whereas with this kind of donation scam stuff, it's like everyone can see and it's super obvious. So maybe that's
Yeah.
my take on that as well, from a different angle.
That actually inspires, I think, kind of a fun idea. What if we made a front end and it's called like am I an idiot.com or are they an idiot.com or check if they're an idiot.com. And all it is we compile a bunch of queries
Dude,
for
that's so good. I
incredibly
love it. I
idiotic
love it.
events that happened on chain. And you
I love it.
basically just put in their address. And if they donated to Polly, they're an idiot and you don't hire them
Yeah,
for your
yeah, dude, I
protocol or
actually
let them in
love
your
this
DAO.
idea. I mean, there was I don't know if you've seen with Ben.eth, there was this clown chart. Do you guys remember the clown chart? I even tweeted about it. It's
Nah.
based, it's basically what NFT community is donated the most to Ben.eth, right? So on chain, there was a guy who basically took all the wallets and he found that Nakamigos were the ones that donated the most to Ben.eth, followed by, I think, Miladies, followed by blah, blah, blah. And they called it the clown chart. I think I'll try to find it in my tweets.
That's definitely the same energy. I really like this am I an idiot.com idea. I just need to start aggregating the queries, I suppose, and then find somebody to build the front end. That could be done in like a, a day and a half, and then you just got to
I
have
don't
some
know, maybe even
system
a,
for
a, a
intaking
Dune
queries.
a Dune Analytics front end could do the trick to start with, I guess. And I don't
Yeah,
know, but it's definitely something to maybe think about. And if you post it on Twitter, I think it can get good traction, especially in this stupid environment.
yeah. It's like haveibeenpooned.com for password leaks, but slightly different. More to indicate whether you're a fucking moron or not. Blockchain Ninja, what's up?
So one, I absolutely love that idea, and I will definitely help however I can. And two, I have to run to the gas station real quick to pay for my gas and get a drink, so I will be right back.
Hey, you should consider leaving $100 just like in the toilet.
No, just flushing it, not in the toilet, just flush it down.
Yeah, just flush it, bro.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard pass on that one.
Oh well. See you in a while then, I guess. And in the meantime, yeah, Valko. Well, also, if anyone in the audience wants to hop up and say hi, I see beautiful NFTs there with your lovely golden gold chain. And there's some couple of interesting sales, bigger sales in NFTs amongst punks as well. One thing I found Valco that was quite good for Twitter engagement is if you post high Twitter sales, right? So for
Oh
example,
yeah, I've been seeing you dropping a lot of tweets with like an ETH number or like a US dollar in the copy, and those seem to be performing super well.
what I did on my end, and this was like a small automation I did, is I created like a Telegram bot on my end, like super quick, super simple. That if an NFT sells above a certain price, like for example, if there's a punk that sells above 100 ETH, I get a message from Telegram saying that this sold, and then I look at it and I'm like, okay, should I tweet this or not? And I think it's like because with these tweets, also what's interesting is to be, breaking news style stuff. Like one of the first ones to tweet it.
Right. Yeah, that's
Uh,
a really good idea. I like that. I've been
and
thinking about setting up a few like inspiration feeds kind of based around similar idea like on-chain alpha and how you can, basically put your own spin on that and be the first. That's cool. I like that.
Exactly, but putting your own spin on it is really important. What I think, because you have all these Twitter bots, like sales bots. You have the Punks bot, you have the I don't know Nakamigos bot, you have the Apes bot, but that's like too impersonal. Like people that follow those, I don't know, they mute it or they don't even want to follow it. Whereas if you as a human, you like put a bit of context to it with like I don't know half a sentence to it, I think that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, so
So
what's going on with foreverpunks.com? Where are you at in the
So
site?
yeah, I mean, we are currently working on the notification stuff. That's where the Telegram sync comes in. But I mean, it's hard, man, because we're speaking to a couple of what's it called, liquidity providers, and they're like, Blur is stealing the show to when it comes because they're going to roll out trade trade based features very soon. Right? Because on Blur currently you have everything is basically a floor token on Blur.
Right.
But like last week, like a couple of weeks ago, they rolled out lending, and basically they're now 80% of the lending market. Like I saw a chart on it, and currently what they're working on is fucking trade based features, and yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say the least.
Interesting. So, do you think that will inspire like some sort of pivot, or do you think there's a world where your platform still makes sense because it's kind of asset specific versus something that's more of a one size fit all platform like Blur?
Well, we're gonna like roll the notification stuff out first, right? Because and see if that gets traction. Because as I mentioned, these breaking news type tweets that everyone loves. So why not, sign up for your own personalized notification? So we're gonna do that and then see how people react to that. Oh, and that will only be for pass holders. So it's not like for everyone. So that's you buy a pass kind of thing.
Right.
And then we'll see. Like the thing is like the market changes every week, every 2 weeks. So it's really hard. And the problem is software takes time to write. It's not like, oh, I write a new feature a day kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I feel that. You have any other fun Web3 product or service ideas on the back burner you've been thinking about?
Well, I mean, last week I mentioned that now I'm joining a couple of new communities, right?
Right.
I did, Nakamigos 2 weeks ago. Yesterday I bought a little pudgy, and so I'm enjoying like the interaction, and it's also like a lot of Twitter banter, but that's for now, just like just for the fun of it. But it's super fun because until now I was basically just like chatting to all these 3,000 punks, whereas it's kind of an echo chamber. Like that's what I realized. Uh, we think the same. We're very much of the same kind of, you know, I would say background, like maybe financial background as well. But NFTs is not just punks. So that's why I was like, okay, maybe I'll just buy. And then the whole backstory there being, I'm looking for my Mrs. Forever. So I
Right.
want to. So now I have one girl in Nakamigo. I have one girl, little pudgy. So maybe I'll buy a couple of other, girls and then choose one to be the Mrs. Forever or something like that.
Yeah, I hear you on the echo chamber too. Like it's very reminiscent of what you see with like Bitcoiners,
Yeah.
then Ethereum, and then the rest of the blockchain space, right? Like Bitcoiners have this mentality that, you know, we disrupted everything and disruption is good until we came along and everything after us couldn't possibly disrupt a damn thing because Bitcoin is the first and the last and the only one that matters. And sometimes I see the same mindset with punks. Um, in that everything besides punks in the NFT space doesn't matter. Punks was the one, and everything else is like trash. And to a degree, I do sort of abide by that. Like my investment strategy has always been very Bitcoin and Ethereum focused. At a certain point, I opened up to Ethereum and took off my Bitcoin maxi hat, and then on the NFT side, my investments are very focused around punks and a few other projects that I've like really built personal conviction around, like V1 punks, which is I guess like so related, it almost doesn't even count. And nouns, like I'm a big believer in nouns, but kind of beyond that, I don't really screw with new projects. And it's a bit, I'd say, of maybe a closed mindedness to a degree, but it's also just like risk reward and risk management at the end of the day too.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put it in the risk category because what I'm spending is less than half an ETH on an NFT. But uh, what's interesting also is that every community has like a different vibe to it. Like Nakamigos, when I joined, like instantly 1,000 new followers, and everyone like, retweeting. Whereas Pudgies feels different. They're less, like they're posting more kind of like hugging gifts, like
Mhm.
penguin gifts. They let's
They're
say they
also
thought.
older too, so the passion might have died a bit.
You mean the older in the sense like the NFT community has been around for longer.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, but then they got a revival now with Luca Netz, right? Their founder, who now did the Pudgy
right.
toys. So it's
The
fairly
toys, yeah.
interesting. But yeah, you do feel the kind of different vibes, and that's what I find as an interesting experience, just from myself personally. Really.
Yeah, no, that's cool. There's no projects right now on my horizon that I'm like, I should dip my toe in the water. But frankly, I haven't been doing a whole bunch of research. And the moment people start telling me, check this one out, check that one out, like I just put my guard up. So many red flags go off. I've got to have somebody that's like close to me in my inner circle um, that I would take a recommendation from seriously to really dive into a new community. I have been thinking about just because I've been really curious with DAOs recently. Now it's kind of really opened my eyes up to I think the lights with DAOs. Like I was really suspicious of DAOs originally, and now I kind of firmly believe they are going to be a
Can you? Yeah,
backbone for the future
I
of work.
saw your tweet. I think this week. Can you like maybe like go into detail? What was your thought behind that tweet? Why you're now hyper bullish on DAOs?
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't like a singular event or instance that built my hype up, but I would say at like a high level, I think there are some like trends emerging, and they don't necessarily even have to do with blockchain, but I think blockchain is very synergistic with them, and the trend really is like, um, I think we're entering a world where more and more people will be working for themselves because there's going to be um, hyper individualization of work. Uber kind of famously did this for hiring like a taxi, right? Like these guys can hop on the job, hop off the job. It's a gig-based economy. It's like being a bounty hunter in Web3, but instead of hunting bounties, they drive cars. And there's been tons of these apps that have emerged as platforms to connect in a very efficient way. Sometimes it's a one size fits all platform that has many different services and products on it. Sometimes it's a very specific niche platform, and we've seen the rise of hyper verticalized solutions and software also in marketplaces and platforms and blah 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 blah. But the point being, like the age of information has made it a lot easier for supply and demand to connect, and labor and those who are seeking labor to connect. And so I think the age of like the side hustle and turning the side hustle into a job, the rise of the solopreneur, the rise of the one person business, the industrial revolution basically created a world where humans were gathering en masses to do like very mechanical labor. And it required these big armies and big legions of people and big factories to achieve things. And I don't think that's going away for a lot of our core supply chain, right? Semiconductor fabrication, vehicles, batteries, like a lot of that stuff is going to stay big. But when I look in Web3, and when I look basically at anybody building a personal brand, a lot of people on Twitter, like the rise of the one person business or the micro business is an emerging trend, and I think it's only going to increase as information systems make gig-based on-demand work even more accessible. And then I think sitting behind all of that is, how do you get people to play friendly online? It's ultimately a game of trust, and I think blockchain solves that game of trust. And when you think about organizations, DAOs are really the backbone for creating these organizations that people can opt in and out of. They could work for multiple DAOs. They could be a bounty hunter for several hundred DAOs, because they have a very specific skill that's very much in demand. And just like an Uber driver turns on the faucet to do work when they want, these hunters or gig based workers or solopreneurs will do the same, and they won't have to worry about trust because the blockchain solves that. And so that's kind of a trend, like a macro trend that um I'm watching closely. Naval talks about it very famously on a few podcasts. And I would say in addition to that, there's just this idea of like transparency in governments and network states that I think DAOs will play a big part in. That we're we're not even close to understanding how that's all going to pan out. But 6529 wrote a thread really recently about public blockchains being
And
used
governance,
to,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, being used to increase transparency in government spending. And I think that's a big part of the equation there. But I think the other side of it is actually closing the gap with the taxpayers and voting um, on how that money is transparently spent. And that's just another big area for DAOs. And with the rise of remote workers, being US citizens, but living around the world, like it all points to, I think, people working for themselves, more gig based economies, more freelancers, as well as basically these fragmented network states that I think both of those things will be tied together by DAOs. And it's been a clusterfuck. Most DAOs suck and aren't doing shit. A lot of people are coming up with DAO ideas like they're magic bullets to some shitty business plan they have. Like you need an underlying value proposition and recurring revenue to have something sustainable here. But uh, I do think while we're definitely early, that DAOs will be the backbone for kind of both of these like prongs I was talking about.
And so maybe my question would be then, like I'm quite deep into this space, but I don't participate in any DAO really. What's missing for, well, like why not? What's the one step that would unlock so many new participants into DAOs? Is it like currently the front ends, or there's just no purpose in doing it? Like, what do you think is like the next missing piece?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is, you know, it's it's sort of an ask, like in terms of your time to be a participant in a DAO, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
bought
yeah.
a nouns because I wanted skin in the game and I really wanted to learn about nouns. And I knew I could learn about it for free, but by purchasing a noun and having skin in the game, I was much more motivated to participate and learn about the community. So that was like purely an educational, discovery oriented NFT acquisition for me. Now, if you go on chain and see my participation in the votes, I think I voted in two or three proposals. So I am like a bad citizen when it comes to nouns. I do not participate in the way that I should. And the reason is it takes time. And people don't freely give up their time for no reason, right? Time is money, money is time. And so I think that gap still needs to be closed. At the end of the day, if you are a co-owner in an organization in a DAO, right, you own tokens that have a stake over its revenues or its treasury or its governance. Just by that simple fact, you're an owner. You have an aligned interest to make the organization do better. Just like you own stock in the startup you work at, and for that reason you want to do good by the company so that your stock goes up. It's the same logic. But I think that's such long-term thinking, and it's such an indirect return on your investment of your time that people are less motivated to um, actually put in the work. So I think that's a big gap that needs to be closed somehow. And I'm not sure what that looks like. People talk about streaming payments in real time to people, um, more closely monitoring participation in DAOs so that people can earn by participating, like actually introducing financial incentives that don't incentivize participating for the sake of participating, but
Yeah,
participating
but
for adding
like
value.
for example, you put in a lot of money into your now, right? So you're financially incentivized to participate, yet you say you're a bad citizen. Like dig deeper into that. Like why are you not participating? You don't have the time, or you don't. I don't know. Like well, what's there?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I were to look at the returns on my noun, like most of it was educational and discovery oriented, and I'm really proud to be a part of that community. Like there's a lot of value in the community itself. If I think about the return on investment of my time, like an hour of my time, I think an hour of my time put towards my personal projects is a much better use of my time than spending an hour participating in nouns governments. Because frankly, I actually have a lot of trust in the DAO. Like I've met a lot of people on both sides of the fence of the DAO, the people that are more money and treasury management oriented, and the people that are more like, let's fund the creators and fund nounish idea side of the fence. I've met a lot of people. I've seen a lot of proposals go through from the sidelines. And I actually like if I ever felt like the ship was going in the wrong direction and my bag was going to suffer because of it, then maybe it will be worth an hour of my time every day to try and steer the ship and participate. But I actually just have faith in the system that
Well,
is
well, then
the nouns.
maybe my next question then, delegation, vote delegation is a part of DAOs, right?
Yeah.
Have you delegated like your vote, or is it possible to do it with nouns?
It
Like
is it
what's
is possible to do it with nouns. I invited Boop up here I don't know if he's free to speak, but he's a big nouns guy. And I love his project. He's kind of one of those guys that inspires me and makes me proud to be part of Nouns DAO because he's out there being a good citizen, building amazing things within the Nouns ecosystem. So I definitely encourage you guys to follow him. He's got a really pretty website too. But anyways, yeah, sorry, what was the question again?
so have you delegated your vote,
Right.
your now? And if
Uh,
not, why not?
I have not, because people have actually asked me to delegate to them, and I've thought about it, but I don't want to delegate to the wrong person, right? Like, I don't want to support. It's like voting for somebody that takes office and does a bad job. Like, you don't want to be publicly on chain supporting that person. It's like an irreversible thing. So I don't want to delegate, even if it's one out of 700 nouns, my noun to somebody that could in some way indirectly tarnish my reputation. Plus, I like the
But it's
optionality
not indefinite,
of
right?
being able
Like
to,
you,
you can undelegate at any time.
of course, of course. So that's why I'm like, if I would have a noun, maybe I would like delegate it, and then if I want to get more active, I would like undelegate it and like then do it myself. That's what I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, it's transactions you have to do, and I abide by less transactions is more
Yeah,
secure
yeah,
kind of
yeah. Well,
mindset.
then maybe that's another thing. Like you probably have it in your cold vault, your noun, but then probably you can do delegate cash type stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, I reckon nouns supports that, but I could be wrong. Um, the other thing I think about with delegation too is like, you know, Um, I think a lot of the delegation, I think the way nouns delegation works is once you delegate, it stays forever until you choose to undelegate. which means theoretically, like if your wallet was compromised or if, say you burnt your seeds, like you basically lost access to the wallet, some delegee, or delegatee, I don't know the word there. They could basically have captured your power in perpetuity. Or maybe you get hit by a bus and you didn't have a system set up to move your seed to your loved ones, or you do and they don't know what the hell delegating a noun is. So I've been toying around with this idea of like, is it actually wise to, and we've seen some DAOs do this, they have like campaigning periods where you have to redelegate every quarter or every year so that people reconsider who they've given power to. And it avoids this like slow accumulation of power that might happen from people losing access to their wallets or forgetting to redelegate. But the other idea I've been toying around with, and this is why I love DAOs, is because there are so many simple incentive structures you can come up with to like solve little problems or mitigate certain issues or uh, basically improve outcomes that you want. So one idea I've been thinking of is like, well, what if you had delegation that basically decays linearly over time? So basically, like it would lose 100% of its delegation power over a 3-year period, and basically requires you to redelegate. But you don't have this weird issue of like campaign periods where like all of a sudden on one day everybody's recampaigning and they stop focusing on executing, they focus on campaigning, and potentially there's a weird shifting of the voting power such that weird votes could get through because on one day all the voting power was with these 5 people, and now tomorrow it's like with these 8 people. I think the campaign period, like, potentially creates some risk there too. So, now that I've seen DAOs, I'm thinking creatively about new ways we can improve governance structures, basically.
Interesting. Boop. I see you're up on
Yo,
stage.
yo.
Welcome. Any thoughts, maybe?
Yeah, no, thanks for the shout out, Balco, and nice to meet you, Mr. Forever. Yeah, but I've been in nouns for quite a while now, and it's been interesting to kind of see a lot of the overhead tied with governance and how nouns is trying to combat those things. One of the ways is a site called Nouns Agora, and so there's a lot of interesting things there where people pretty much create their profiles um, that want nouns delegated to them. And there's even a way for people to auction off their vote, essentially. So you can say, "Hey, I want to auction off my vote," and then people can bid on that. People can also, propose, "Hey, why I want to vote on your behalf as well." So I think there's a lot of interesting, and again, I think we are still in a very experimental phase. Um, but I think nouns is one of the DAOs that is trying to experiment with these things and in a more or less healthy manner. And that's one of the reasons why I've stuck around for a long time as well.
The Nouns Agora thing is so
Hmm.
interesting because it's quite literally like bribery happening in a very public and transparent
Yeah,
way.
no, definitely.
And so, what's your kind of background into nouns and NFTs in general?
Yeah. So I've been me and MetaMonk, who's the other half of the Rat Pack. We got into Web3 for a project that we wanted to start called RGB. But then we found nouns and we decided to put a pause on that. And we're going to continue to work on that later this year, actually, currently working on that. But in the meantime, we wanted to spend some time learning more about nouns and how DAOs operate. And then we put up a prop actually to receive funding for a project called Noundation. And Noundation originally started out as a way for it essentially is a nounish design system. And by design system, meaning fonts, colors, things of that nature, for anyone to create a nounish visual front end without having any of those resources beforehand. And I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Balco, of more as we go more and more on, there will be a lot more solopreneurs, dolopreneurs, people who have all the tools and resources nowadays to run businesses, not just one, but multiple as well. So I think part of that is offering resources, offering value, as foundational Web3 resources, things such as, templates, front end, interfaces that people can duplicate, fork, copy, whether that's for, Tailwind, making that nounish, or for Framer or Webflow templates, or even like Figma templates, right? So wherever part of your process you are in, having resources on hand that are easily accessible for you to, replicate and kind of put your spin on. But my background is primarily design. So I think good design is one of the ways in which, it can be a very powerful tool to onboard people into Web3 or just your community. And it's also something that I think this space needs a lot more of, especially with, transactions, doing things on blockchain. We need to make it very easy and clear. It should be as easy as a lot of the Web2 tools that are in play today. So that's kind of the gist of why I'm here, I guess. Um, but yeah, it's been a very interesting kind of journey. Also, nouns is a lot different of like some of the stuff that you guys were talking about earlier with with the Ben.eth, with the psyop, all that shit. It's just it's like nouns is almost like a safe harbor almost, which also means that it's probably a good place for people who are new to Web3 to learn it as well.
Interesting. I mean, nouns for me definitely is right side of the bell curve, whereas bend.eth is probably the other side. But you know what, like, struck with me with nouns is their innovative kind of minting structure. The one noun a day forever. Uh, because currently you have the typical 10K collection, and then that's it. And then you have nouns, which is doing their progressive mint of some sorts. Do you think like why haven't we seen more projects of those sorts, like, that came up with, innovative minting structures? Well, what do you think?
Honestly, I think part of it is people are greedy and they want their lump sum of money immediately, and that's that. If you were um if you were building a project and you had one option, which is make 10 million today, or, maybe make 10 million over the next 10 years, like which option are you going to lean towards selfishly, right? I think that's one reality of it. But the genius of the model, in my opinion, there's like two things that I get really excited about. One is like very few NFT projects or DAOs for that matter have solved the recurring revenue problem, and it is a very reliable recurring revenue source for nouns. Not to say by using this mechanism, you will instantaneously solve your recurring revenue problem. Like people, there has to be demand for what you're offering. Otherwise, this doesn't work, right? And nouns has created demand for a lot of reasons. Namely, like one noun is one vote over a 45 to $50 million treasury, and so much more. But it is a novel way to, you know, solve the recurring revenue problem, and that's one thing I really like. But the other thing too is from a DAO governance perspective, when all the tokens are out there and somebody can sort of like instantaneously buy them in an instant, and there's no new tokens introduced, like you start to have power basically accumulate with one person, and it's not too far off from like a banana republic where it's a corrupt government. Somebody comes in, they buy a few diplomats voting powers, and that's that, and like it's game over, and then they rule the country until somebody dies or there's a coup or whatever. But with nouns, there's always the option to for a good actor or somebody to come in every day and buy a new noun. Like there's this stock to flow ratio of new nouns created every day. And I think it's actually like a really healthy thing for governance because, people can always step in and kind of acquire new voting power. And it frankly goes both ways. Like a bad actor could too. But a bad actor is probably going to have an easier time just trying to buy things in private sales on the secondary market. So I think it's really interesting from both angles.
I mean, I was spinning these ideas in my mind for quite some time now. Like the 10K mint all at once is this immediate hype right at the beginning. So there's a lot of merit to that because, a lot of this stuff is like built on the hype around it. Whereas noun is this progressive linear kind of, it grows linearly. And I was thinking, why not like why not have uh potentially a different inflation mechanism, like a bit like Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin is like this asymptote that goes towards, 21 million. But why have we not seen NFT kind of mints that, I don't know, for example, start at zero and like asymptotically go to 21,000 NFTs, like very heavy at the beginning and then like just like,
Mhm.
do
I
you see
mean,
what I mean
so
here?
we've sort of seen with bonding curves, there's a similar effect where the price increases after every purchase until eventually the demand fizzles out. But it's not quite literally the halvening approach, but no, I think that's an interesting idea. I mean, ultimately, people are wondering why we have all these pump and dumps, and the reason is you quite literally gave the founding team all the money up front,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they can straight up leave with it. Generally, there's not a lockup or any provisions like that. Whereas nouns, you know, the nouns founding team, basically all proceeds from noun sales go into the treasury, which is owned by nouns holders. And every 10 nouns that are created are given to the founding team for them to control, like in their multi sig. So um, they're compensated one in every 10 nouns with a noun. I mean, there couldn't be a greater alignment of interest ever. And that in and of itself was a signal to anybody with a brain at the beginning that like it's basically impossible for this to be a pump and dump unless they're trying to quite literally take that first noun that they get, sell it at the floor price, and run with the money. But also it could have been a pump and dump because all the assets were ultimately put in the hands of the community, such that even if the nounders pieced out and did nothing, um, you know, 9 out of every 10 nouns is in the hands of the community, and all the proceeds from that is controlled by the treasury, which is managed by the community. So it's you know it's such a beautiful system for
But
avoiding a pump and dump.
I completely agree with that. But my maybe critique would be that the community grows too slowly. Now you guys are at maybe 700 nouns. It's
Well, I
the thing
think I
about
think you're missing a big part though, which is, I mean, I would agree with that at face value, but um, the thing Nouns has going for it is they've built all these public goods, like the Nouns auctioning system, like Prop House, and all these other things, and it's a CCO brand. So there are massive amounts of derivative projects. The best one being like Lil Nouns, right? Lil Nouns issues nouns at a much faster cadence. Lil Nouns Treasury owns a handful of DAOs, so they actually are able to vote on Nouns proposals. And so there's sort of, because of CCO, as well as the public goods that Nouns creates for people to use, there's sort of this, while there are only a certain number of people who hold Nouns, there are a bunch of other communities that actually hold nouns in their balance sheets and are part of the broader nouns ecosystem. And it creates that CCO flywheel effect. So you're right, but there's also a little bit more to the story.
can you maybe talk bit more about little nouns because I don't have 30 ETH to buy a noun at the moment, but like maybe just to dip my toe in a little noun could be a good option. And like what price are they at?
Yeah, I'm not sure what price they're at, but they're not expensive. They're like sub 2 ETH, sub 1 ETH, maybe. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. And I forget the cadence at which they issue little nouns, but it's a much faster cadence than every 24 hours. It might be like every 2 hours or every 4 hours. And their aesthetic is like very similar, but it's slightly different parts. I mean, they're quite literally like mini me's of the nouns. But I believe Lil Nouns was created um, from a proposal or by using the original public goods auction system, minting system that Nouns created. And they have their own prop house and proposal system. And part of the some of the decisions they've taken have been to purchase nouns. So I think they control, if you go to the Lil Nouns website, they control at least three or four or five, maybe seven nouns, I forget. And they are able to vote kind of on chain directly, like every Lil Noun. And heck, regular nouns could even delegate their nouns to the Lil Nouns DApp. So it's this really cool kind of like recursive thing in a way. Another one to study is NARSDAO, GNARS, which it's like a kind of similar thing, but it was focused on a slightly different mission of like um, something to do with like extreme sports athletes, like skateboarders and stuff.
Yes, I saw the latter one, but like this little nouns thing is quite interesting for me. I might look into it a bit more and just maybe pick up one, for just the exercise of doing a bit of DAO stuff, a bit of noun stuff, and from what I hear, it's like tied to nouns, so it could be quite interesting. Maybe I can pick up a female little noun to put it in my Mrs. Forever group of NFTs, so that could be fun.
Definitely check it out.
All right, so Valko. I mean, it's the top of the hour. Anything else we want to maybe hop into, or should we call it a day for today?
I think let's call it. I switched the Punks Roundtable account because for some reason I can't hear your voice on my Valco account, but I can hear you on this one, which is very strange. I guess Twitter Spaces is telling us it's time to go.
Yep. Well, listen, let's hope that next week will be a bit more sane than it was last week. And I mean, next week, my Twitter thread's basically going to be a bunch of pictures in Lisbon with my punk head and a bunch of punk collages. So look out for that. But other
Yeah,
than
man.
that,
And I bet we'll secure some awesome guests for the space, yeah?
I'll talk to a bunch of people for sure. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, go get some friends to sit around the table with us here.
All right, buddy. Thanks for everyone for listening. Talk to you guys later.
Yep. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Ciao.